If you feed corn to your goats and sheep, they're all gonna... At least that's what people tell me. But I've been feeding over 20,000 pounds of corn to my goats and sheep for over 10 years now, and it's never been a problem for me. So why do people think corn is so bad? Well, there's a few reasons. The first being, one, it's a waste of money. Why would you buy corn and feed it to goats and sheep? Because they're not going to digest it, and there's just no nutritional value in it. And two, the corn is just going to cause the goats to have acidosis, and they're going to bloat from it. And probably the biggest reason people don't like corn is they think that it's going to cause kidney and bladder stones in goats and sheep. And in some ways, all of those are true. So something you got to take in consideration is the volume of corn that I feed. It's not a complete feed. I don't feed only corn. If you see in the feeders on this side and the round bell feeder there, their primary feed is hay. So the volume of hay to corn is so much more hay than there is to corn. There's close to 50 goats in here. That orange bucket that I filled and dumped in here, it only holds about 35 pounds of corn. So you're talking about free choice hay all day, all night, and on 50 goats, it's way less than a pound, less than 3/4 of a pound per goat. So the amount of corn that each goat gets is tiny in comparison to all the hay that they get. Now let's talk about it being a waste of feed and a waste of money. Well, here's the deal. Every year we do a pumpkin patch. And in that pumpkin patch, I have a corn pit that all the kids and the people can play in. And there's over 20,000 pounds of corn in that corn pit. So what am I going to do with all that corn? Am I going to throw it away? No, for sure not. I'm going to reuse and repurpose that corn. So I'm not going out and just buying corn just to feed to the animals. It's got major dual purpose. It goes to our pumpkin patch. Everybody has so much great fun playing in it. Then we bring it home and we feed it to the animals. So from that perspective, the corn is not a waste at all. Now let's talk about it not having nutritional value and the goats not being able to digest it.
Depending on what studies you look at, the goats and sheep are going to digest between 70 and 90% of the corn. And that's just fine by me since it's a resource that we already have.
Now, does it have a lot of nutritional value? No, not really. It only has about 7% protein in it, which is very low, but it's very high in carbohydrates. So a lot of starch and a lot of carbohydrates means that it's providing the goats and the sheep with a lot of fat, a lot of energy, and a lot of calories. And when we're talking about these goats in particular and my sheep over there, they're all pregnant. So energy, fat, and calories are really good for those pregnant mamas.
Now let's talk about how corn can cause acidosis or bloat. Corn is very high in sugar, and it's that rapid fermentation of the sugar within the rumen that causes an excess amount of gas. And this process makes the pH of the rumen very acidic, which kills off beneficial bacteria. And this stops the animal's normal digestive function, which can be fatal for the goat or sheep. And in order to prevent against this, you have to maintain a balanced pH within the rumen.
The hay helps to offset that, to balance it, to keep the saliva going, to keep the microbes and everything in the rumen running so that it doesn't have that excess amount of gas that's produced in there. And if it does, that hay helps the goats to be able to expel that gas to neutralize it, and it doesn't cause any problems.
Now let's talk about urinary calculi. Urinary calculi is basically the excess buildup of stones within the bladder, and that's caused by an imbalance of phosphorus and calcium within the animal. And those excess stones can become lodged in the urethra, which can block the animal's ability to urinate, which can be fatal for the goat or sheep.
Corn is very high in phosphorus but very low in calcium, so you have to have something to balance all of that out. And really, like everything, the key is hay or natural forage. And in older, mature goats and sheep, it's really not as big a deal. It's those younger animals, especially your castrated males, that have the biggest problem because they don't have the hormones in there to then get that development of their urethra. So their urethra is constricted and small, so the stones that might accumulate can't pass, and therefore it's going to be fatal for them. I would never encourage anybody to give a lot of grain to young animals. I give my kids and lambs corn, but the key is they've got to have hay. Have I emphasized that enough? They got to have a large ratio of hay compared to a small ratio of corn. So folks, I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not a vet. So take everything I say with a grain of salt or a grain of corn. I would never tell you what or how to feed your animals. But for me, this works fantastic. Have a goat day.